Bonjour. And
Bonjour.
welcome back. Welcome back to Pushbox Banter. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Craig, and we're here to talk all things French. Actually, no. We're going to talk about Monagas. Yes. Yes. Our one bonjour is probably the only French word that we're going to say here
Correct.
today. Yeah.
We.
I did take, oh man, you got two. Wow. I did take French in high school, but I never really learned very much. Yeah. Yeah. It didn't, some of it stuck with me, but not enough to really be fluent. No. So unfortunately.
Oh.
However, Monaco, people are pretty fluent in French there.
Yeah.
Borders France. Got some great stuff there.
That's right. It's a principality.
Mm-hmm. It's a constitutional monarchy. It's been ruled by the same family since 1297.
That's incredible.
That is pretty incredible. I mean, when you think about it, most countries don't last, a couple hundred years.
Exactly.
Yeah, and to have it by the same family.
The Grimaldis.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about when you think about Monaco? What comes to mind?
When I think about Monaco, I think about fast cars. I think about Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
I think about gambling and luxury, super high fashion. I think about luxury.
Yeah, I do too. The super yachts that they have.
Correct.
Now
the marina.
Parked. Yeah, perfectly.
That's right.
Yeah, the marina. Yeah, I think of all that stuff. You know what's interesting though? There's one, they're known for that. Of course, they're known. The big thing that they're also known for is the F1 Grand Prix, the Monaco Grand Prix.
Of course, what we're going to be talking about.
Surprise, guys, surprise. So, yeah, but that's one of the big things that they're known about. But one of the other weird things, they're known for luxury. They're known for their gambling in Monte Carlo. Do you know it's illegal for Monegasque to actually go and gamble there?
That's right.
Yeah.
They have passport checks when they go into the casinos.
Yeah. So it's only visitors that can go. Only foreign people. Yeah, no.
It's very protectionist of their citizens.
Yeah, they don't want to, I guess, get them hooked to gambling
That's
or anything
right.
like that. So.
Yeah, they would lose all their money. Did you know that the majority of their citizens are millionaires? They have over 12,000 millionaires. One in three.
1 in 3.
That's right.
Huh. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And apparently the people who work there don't actually live there, obviously, because... unless
that kind of makes sense. Like you got to go across, because it's so expensive.
Yeah. Apparently, they have like 30,000 people coming from like Italy and France and all over the place.
So the majority of the F1 drivers live in Monaco.
Correct.
I believe it has to do with the tax benefits or lack of taxes. It's
a little tax haven.
Yeah. So that's where the vast majority of the F1 drivers actually live.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did you know it's the second smallest country in the world?
Yes, Vatican City is a little bit small. I'm curious about what is it, San Marino? That's like the super tiny other country that's inside of Italy. How it compares, but I think it's like it's categorized a little bit differently. But yeah, it's only like 8.8 of a square mile.
That's right.
How big it is?
It's just like a big park.
Yeah, pretty much. It's it's smaller than Central Park in New York. Yeah, and then it has I think 2 miles of coastline, something like that. Yeah, it's pretty awesome though.
That is really cool.
You've actually been to Monaco, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there once, and
you got to experience something very special.
I did. I went to I think it was called like the Rockter or something. It's basically a hill. It was like 3 miles out.
Oh, yeah.
And you just see little specks of cars driving, and you only get to see like one turn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a little bit of another one. But it was really cool, yeah. It was on a hill, and very uncomfortable, but it was really cool.
But that was to see one of the Grand Prix, right?
Yeah, one of the Grand Prix, I think in 2014.
That's awesome.
I could be wrong. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Went over there, stayed in Nice, took a train back and forth. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
I would like to go again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lost some money.
We should do that. Well, not lose money. We should go to Monaco. And do that.
Yeah. And it's the whole French Riviera there. It's beautiful. It's got that Mediterranean climate, so it's a little warm, a little breezy. You got the ocean. Everywhere you see, it's just like Ferraris all over the place.
Wow.
The taxis are all like Maybachs and it's
great.
it's really cool.
That's great, man. So did you see any hedgehogs or rabbits or mice that were there?
No,
because those are the actual national animals.
Are they really?
Yeah.
No, I hadn't.
Yeah, it's a special type of mouse. It's a wood mouse, actually, not just any mouse.
No. I was actually, when I was on that big mountain or like that hill, the rock or whatever it's called, I was actually looking for Hercules because they have a legend that there's a cave where Hercules hid out and has stashed his like goodies. So I was looking out for that, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That would have been pretty cool if you would have been the one to discover this cave.
Yes.
Yeah. So one other thing, they're known for this oceanography or oceanographic museum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to look into more of that, but something that you guys might want to look into.
And what's there?
Stuff about the ocean, man.
Oh, wow. Well, that's, the ocean's an incredible place.
It's a very deep thing.
It's very deep and blue.
Yes, very deep and blue. Well, yeah.
Very
so,
cool.
yeah, so Monaco, one of the other things, so when we start getting into the F1 race, so last year after the F1 race, I called it a parade. Because it basically was like
That's right.
It was all resolved like pretty much however you qualified. That's pretty much how things finished up, unless you were Perez last year.
That was rough.
The wreck that
was
probably ruined. It was the downfall of his career, I think.
With Red Bull, yes,
yes, with Red Bull, yeah.
And that crash was crazy.
It was a horrible crash.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't his fault, but Magnussen and him, but horrible wreck. Yeah. But basically, like I called it a parade last year because it pretty much is.
Yeah.
It's like it's cars driving around. There's hardly any overtaking. If there's no safety car, like in the middle
Nobody
of the
crashes
race,
into the wall.
Then there's no drama, right?
There's no drama.
So I mean, you think, well, maybe there's going to be something with a pit stop. It might be something there. No, not in last year's. And maybe there's rain, that causes some drama. No, not last year. I mean, honestly, it was kind of boring. So
it usually is.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be, but it usually ends up being a very boring race.
Right. So the big talk after last year, besides Perez, was what could they do to make that race better? Because it's a street circuit and it's old school town, old school village. So the city
before you get to what actually is going to be implemented this year, though.
Yes.
What do you think would make this race a lot more exciting?
I still think what I said last year would make it way more exciting if they raced in smaller cars. And if they actually used the cars that they test in the aero tunnels, if they actually used those for the car.
Oh my gosh, because they're like what? Like 1/4 the size?
Yuki might have a huge advantage in this case. So he might fit in the car.
Or I think you said last year that they could just make it a bike race.
Yeah, make it a bike race. Yeah.
Great. When they're doing their reconnaissance lap in a bike
great.
and just put them in bikes.
Yes, have it in bikes, or scooter, like the little, scooters that they stand on, little electric scooters.
Oh, right.
The Vespas. Yeah, Vespas would work.
Or the
anything.
Little Segway scooters.
But they literally, like, if they had a smaller car, when the cars were smaller, there was more chances for overtaking.
Right.
And you could turn the vehicles better.
Right.
As they are right now, they're too long and they're too wide to be able to pass and go around these hairpin curves and everything with somebody else trying to pass. So it just totally eliminates the possibility for craziness to go on.
Right.
So what they ended up coming up with, they didn't listen to me this time. I'm a little disappointed in that.
But they did do something.
But they did something. They did listen enough to do something.
They had to.
Yeah. I mean, when I speak, this happens, right? So they actually did something this year, and they've implemented a 2-stop mandatory strategy that has to happen. So they've got to have two pit stops.
That's great.
Yeah, so they get to change tires and everything.
Yeah,
twice.
It forces them for sure, because usually that's it. That's where the only drama happens. And I mean, you're lucky if somebody does an undercut or something. You're like, oh my gosh, there was one pass in the pit lane. So now at least we have that potential twice.
Yeah, it's better. Better.
I mean,
that's not. I think that's a good thing.
It's a good start. Yeah, I mean.
because
they can't
really,
make the track bigger. They can't do it.
There's no room. Like where do you widen the track?
Yeah, you can't
to make an actual increase and possibility for passing. I mean, I don't know. The only other thing that you could do is that goofy one chicane that they have. If you eliminated that, but they put that there to help protect the drivers. So. I mean,
right.
That would be the other thing that I would say that you change.
You know what though? I'm with you. Let them have a little bit more in their budgets, in their cost caps or whatever for a B spec car that's just smaller.
That would be awesome.
I mean, what's 3/4 the size?
Yeah.
And let them go. You know, it's a Monaco race. You know, just like kind of like a sprint where they make it its own thing with its own point system and, you know, go at it.
It'd be pretty cool if they let them go backwards in time, because all of these teams,
like
they
a
all
classics
have,
race or
yes.
something.
Well, yes,
that's a good idea too.
Yeah, they all have like
they're
classic cars
yeah.
that they keep in their garages, so they have all the specs. Give them a little extra money, like you said, so they can build a new one that's like a certain years past that was small enough to really be competitive, where there's a lot of overtaking and so forth. Genius.
Classics race. Why not?
And they kind of do that. Like the week leading up, they start doing all these classic car races from old times, and all these previous drivers will come out. And I think you could. I'm sure you can probably pay enough money.
Yeah, I remember Leclerc crashed somebody's car. I forgot. Yeah, but anyway,
that's Leclerc.
And then recently, this week, I saw Russell posing with an old 1940s car or something. Yeah. So, hey man, let's do that instead.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Love it. Love it. I'd love to hear what our audience has to say.
Yeah.
About all these
what do you guys think?
For Monaco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us know. Put something in the comments. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Monaco coming up.
Yeah, that's right.
We got our predictions.
Yeah, we predicted. We
also have some predictions about there's going to be a lot of famous people that are there.
Yes.
Yeah. Although we didn't predict who, but I bet you Brad Pitt will be there.
Yeah, probably Brad Pitt. A Kardashian.
Possibly, yes. And there's going to be some musical person that's going to be there too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I guarantee somebody that's into music.
Yeah.
Into singing as a career, not just listening. Yeah.
I'm sure there will be plenty to talk about in that sense. But
yes.
Yeah, so Red Bull has been able to pull off something really incredible in Imola, right?
Yes.
Now going into Monaco, do we think they found the answer to McLaren? And I know we kind of touched a little bit on this in our Imola podcast, but what do you think? Do you think that they'll be able to push this forward into Monaco and make that the beginning of the downfall for McLaren?
I would love it because I love Red Bull. However, I do think that anytime that Max Verstappen is behind the wheel of that Red Bull, that there's a chance for brilliance and greatness. And will he qualify at the very top? I think he probably will.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's on. You know, a few weeks ago we asked if him having a baby was going to make him slow, and it seems like he's only made it faster.
That's right.
I mean, he set records at the Nürburgring. He set, sorry, that was Franz, but he's driving great. Is it the car? Is it the setup? I think that they made some adjustments to the car that make the setup a little bit easier for them to adjust.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna do great.
I think
he's gonna be competitive with them this next week.
Yeah, his team listens to him, and they set his car up right. And I think for Monaco, they're always going to do that, especially in Monaco.
Yeah, last year he would have been on pole if it wasn't for touching the wall. Yeah,
that's
right.
A
little bit too hard of a kiss on the wall.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Well, you heard it
that's
here.
That's my hot sports opinion.
That's crazy. Yeah.
What about you?
I think Imola was a bit of a one-off. I think there's a possibility that Red Bull will do really good in Monaco. I just don't know that after Monaco they'll be able to maintain that.
Yeah.
Especially what we know with how McLaren handles their tires, and right now Piastri and Norris seems to be like it's just going to go back and forth. So I think it's going to maintain like that. if Verstappen does something, it'll be like a one-off here and there, depending, like very track specific type of thing. But I don't think so.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I like it when you agree with me.
Well, I mean, I kind of
Max Verstappen's
do. I think it's possible. I just don't actually see it in reality happening.
Okay,
but we never know.
Well,
these things do change, and it's like if you got the momentum on you and you got that tailwind, you never know. Like it might just go the other direction for like the next 5 races until the next big upgrade, right?
Yeah. Very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible. So what do you think about, over the past few weeks, we've talked a little bit about Ferrari and Mercedes and how they're doing, and Mercedes has been performing above Ferrari.
Right.
They did so in qualifying, but then in the race in Imola, they didn't.
Right.
Do you think that Ferrari is going to continue moving up? Do you think they're going to start actually have good qualifyings this time?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think this is a bad year for Ferrari.
Yeah.
I think they're going to stay where they are. They're going to be behind Mercedes. They're going to try to do some upgrades. They're going to try to fix that car. They're going to try to work with Hamilton. Leclerc has to get out of his head, especially in Monaco.
Oh, yeah.
Out of all places, because he's got terrible luck in Monaco, right?
Well, last year he won.
Well,
up until last year.
Up until last year, right? Up until last year, he had terrible luck. So unless he can change and shift his mindset, right? I don't know that they're going to be better this year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, but not this year.
Yeah.
Between Piastri and Lando, though, how much longer do you think it's going to take? Like, at what point is McLaren going to decide on a champion?
Good question, because they're 1-2, right? I don't. Yeah. I believe that they're still 1-2.
Yeah.
And they're really close.
Yeah,
so
they're close.
Is there like a certain point where it's definitive that, hey, I think if it's,
or do they let them battle it out the whole season or something?
They may. I mean, they're crazy enough where they might just do that. They might just let them battle it out until it's definitive which one's further ahead and the other one's not going to catch them.
Right.
They kind of did that last year, I think, but I don't know. I think that right now, Piastri to me is driving better, even though Norris did finish second. But I think overall, like, Piastri's driving better.
Right. I feel like at some point you'd want to just back one.
Yeah, I think so. But they are really close in talent and in their performance. They're still really close. I don't think Lando's driving as good right now as Piastri. Will that change in a few races? Possibly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Piastri could even get better.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. I think that.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
To me, I'd back Piastri over Norris, but
I would back Piastri too.
I think that he's the one person right now that's driving well enough in a good enough car that could beat Max Verstappen.
Exactly.
So since I want Verstappen to win, maybe I should choose for Norris to back him, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah.
And what about Colapinto? I know we talked about him not doing that well in his first race. He crashed and then ended up in P16. So Monaco is going to be a tough race because we know it's all about the quality, and we know he also likes to kiss the wall quite a bit, right?
Yes.
So given that that's going to be race 2 of 5, do we think that this could possibly be a turning point in his very short comeback, or is he going to kill it, or what's going to happen?
I think he's going to underwhelm us.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he may do fine on the race. But he's not in a car. Well, gosh, I don't know how good is the Alpine. Gasly's actually he's qualifying.
The Alpine's been doing okay.
Yeah.
Compared to last year.
Yeah, compared to last year, it is. Gasly's driving it really well.
Yeah.
Is Colapinto going to be able to perform closer to Gasly? Possibly on the qualifying. Is he going to be able to push the car to its limits and beyond? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But what does that translate into? Does that mean bottom 5? Does it mean 10 to 15? Does
Probably
that mean
10 to 15 or something.
I think he might be able to do that again.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, he was able to get in to that this time. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
I feel that Alpine is really good at putting their drivers under like immense pressure, right? And so him coming in knowing he's only got 5 races to do something special and to maintain his seat, and having already crashed his first race and then going to Monaco for his second race, I don't know, man. I don't know what other options they have. I know we were talking about possibly like them going back to Jack or going with like somebody like Perez or Bottas or somebody, right? I don't know. I think it's just such a bad start for Calapinto. I almost feel bad.
Yeah, I think it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Your car's all right. I mean, really, like, to me, if I was wanting to win or have better performance, I probably wouldn't have Calapinto or Duhan in there. They're young. I guess it depends on your strategy. But I would think like Bottas or Perez would be better options for them if they're wanting actual performance this year.
Right. Because how can they see what their car is capable of if you've got a bunch of? I mean, don't get me wrong. Gasly's really good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but he's not being pushed. There's no challenge there, so he's just got to be good enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like they need a quality driver.
I think that they do need a quality driver to give them quality feedback.
Exactly.
And I think Duhan, even though he was a rookie, he was in with Alpine. He came up through their system. He was familiar with the car. He was at all the races. He was doing all the driver stuff. So that made sense. Calapinto, not so much, but he was like a reserve driver for the first few races. So, So, I mean, that does get him up to speed a little bit.
Right.
So, okay. But I still think like Perez or Bottas would be a better option for that. No.
Wow.
I mean, if I was Bottas, I'd probably keep my gig at Mercedes. Yeah. It's pretty smooth gig. But unless you're wanting to race.
And racing car drivers, I'm sure they do.
It probably does. It probably does. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else, Craig, before we get into the race?
Let's see. With Williams.
Okay.
What do you think? Like, what is going on with Williams? I mean, night and day difference from this year to last year, right? What do you think is going to happen with them?
We saw them challenging Ferrari. I think they have that potential for the rest of the year.
I do too. That's exciting.
Yes. Yeah. It's exciting. And they have 2 exciting drivers. They're both relentless. James Wallace has been doing something great in that team. And that car is doing great. And it's super fast. We knew since last year, in a straight line, that car is super fast, right? But for them to translate it in like week in, week out, that's what's got to happen for them to be able to challenge, I think, Ferrari consistently. Yeah. And be up there in the top like 5 teams or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
like
totally
beyond just the middle of the pack, middle to lower, like once you start to get to Ferrari and Mercedes, well, okay, that's we can take you seriously.
Yeah. It looks like they're close to
I think they are very close. Yeah. That car is very fast, and they've got 2 great drivers.
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
I'm excited. What do you think?
I think that Williams is super close to being able to challenge. Not quite there. I think if they're, does that mean that they're ever going to podium this year? Probably not. I think that you're looking, they're just a little bit behind Ferrari and Mercedes.
We should wager there.
I think they're going to podium?
I think they can podium. I think they can.
I wonder what our audience thinks on that.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Yeah. I think if Mercedes and Ferrari have a bad day and the right strategy comes up for Williams, they can podium.
Yeah,
either one of them.
I think so. Like a bad day, little off here, little off there. Yeah, they do.
All right.
It's cool.
Well,
Daniel,
let's talk about the race.
Let's do it. So Monaco 2025. Going down. We got quali, we got the race, all sorts of stuff.
Sorts of good stuff.
Quali hits Saturday, which, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but Monaco, for all that I think about the actual race, the actual venue and everything is visually amazing.
It really is.
I love seeing it on TV. Love it. Love it. Love it. Quali is so great.
Yeah.
Because it's the one race that you have got to nail qualification, got to be at your best because it's really going to have, it's so hard to pass in the actual race.
Yeah.
So so quali
the race is quali.
It really is. Yeah. And yeah, totally, completely. So all sorts of stuff goes down in quali.
Right in Q1.
Yeah. Q1, like right in Q1, we've got Antonelli finding the wall.
Finds the wall.
Punctures a tire, then finds another wall. So red flag comes out. Fortunately, he already had a time on the board. It's fast enough. The other cool thing is because quali is so important, all of these guys are out there and they're trying to do 2 to 3 like push laps every single time. The other thing is because they got the C6 tire out there, and the C6 tire, as you guys know, takes a little bit of extra warming up to get it in that window. So, and with it being a street track, each lap, there's more rubber on the lap, so it really gets faster and faster.
It gets cleaned up and it gets rubbered in.
Yes. Yeah. So
true. After all the partying that happens.
That's right. After all the partying that goes on.
Because they open it up. They let the folks on. There's like a DJ booth. They start partying.
Nice.
How cool is that? It's excellent.
It
really is. So
they do it right there.
Yeah. So Antonelli's out, but technically makes it to Q2.
Correct.
And
well, let's give honorable mention to Lance Stroll. He extended his record of making Q3 again. So bravo to him.
Bravo to him.
Yeah. Okay. So then we go into Q2.
We go into Q2, and who misses out in Q2?
Well, in Q2, our lovely Yuki Tsunoda. He does not make it to Q3.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've also got Sainz as well. Didn't make it to Q3.
That's right.
Which, I mean, you're talking Williams here.
Well,
but Williams years past leading up to no big deal. Like it's expected. They got to Q2, big party's going to be thrown. But now, like they've been driving really well, and
they were doing great in Imola.
Yeah. And then they would have some different laps, and they did. And like in Imola, he was, and I think in Q2, maybe in Q1,
right?
He was like, I think at the very top of the board at one point.
That's right. Yeah.
So they've had some good quali laps.
Yeah.
They got a pretty quick car. And Albon, he makes it to Q3.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think one of the surprises, though, is how well Ferrari is doing in quali.
Yes.
Like, we haven't seen them really at the top. In fact, we've talked about it with them being below Mercedes. Like, you've got McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull, and then Ferrari. And it's kind of how it's been played out so far this year.
That's right.
They've had some moments where they've done okay, but just overall, they just haven't been there. So this week, all of a sudden, both cars, they're looking good in quali.
Right.
Leclerc and Hamilton. And then we get some special Q3 action going on.
That's right.
Hamilton does some great stuff. He ends up getting all the way to 4th. We've got Piastri at third. Verstappen's actually the backup. Verstappen comes in 5th on quali.
That's right.
And then we've got Leclerc. He gets provisional pole. One of the interesting things, I will actually give credit where credit's due. McLaren had some really good race strategy for quali. So they made it to where they were able to do an additional lap that Ferrari was not. And Norris ends up setting like the fastest lap time ever at Monaco.
Yes.
And comes in getting pole. Right. So, I mean, from that point forward, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I was so surprised that he took pole from Leclerc.
Leclerc
was
man.
Like, that looked like a dominant lap. And out of nowhere, Norris sets an excellent lap, and that's it.
Yeah, and that was it.
I mean, that
was it. I mean, all of us expect McLaren to be at the very top right now. Their car's great. Their driver, Norris and Piastri, have been driving really well. Norris hasn't as much recently. Like Piastri's been more dominant recently, but Ferrari to go that far up, like all of a sudden they're right at the top and they're like performing really well on this track. So that was exciting to see.
That was exciting.
Tifosi fans everywhere. I think they were cheering.
Yeah.
Probably registered an earthquake at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Even though he didn't get that P1, he's
Mm-hmm.
still in the front row.
Yeah.
And front row in his home race where anything can happen. Well, things can happen. Things can happen. Things can happen.
Yes.
Not anything.
We
but
don't do.
certain
Yeah,
things,
if we didn't do
certain
the
things
race,
can
that would be
happen.
it.
But we know there's plenty of racers that have had terrible luck, Leclerc being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this was like a notch or on that tally of bad luck for him.
No, this was not bad luck.
By any means.
He did some good manifesting this past
He
week.
did. And that's what we were talking about earlier, that, are they overperforming, or did they overperform in Monaco, right? Quite
yeah, that's
possibly,
a good
right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't driving that well in Imola. What do you get, like sixth, I think?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Hamilton's been struggling. And to get, P2 in the start of Monaco, I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too. I thought that that was a pretty great drive from him, and for his car too. I mean, so you've got Charles Leclerc that loves riding on the street races,
right.
And it's his own home race.
Right.
So, if he can push that car, he's going to. He did last year, and he did this year too. Definitely in quality, and so we go right into the race.
Yeah,
right from the start. Lights go out. Take off, and Leclerc
was close
on the gas.
Yeah. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He took off. He had a great launch.
Mm-hmm.
The McLaren of Norris didn't look too bad, but he locked up. I'm surprised he didn't take both of them out.
That's true.
Were you able to see the replay of lap 1 or the crash in F2?
No, I didn't. I didn't see about that.
Okay. So similar to what happened, except the P1 position had a worse start than Norris.
Okay.
Took the P2 guy out at that first corner.
Yeah.
And caused a massive pileup of I don't know, 8 cars or so.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was insane.
Go back and see that.
You have to.
Yeah.
It was insane. Verstappen looked like he could have taken Piastri.
Yeah, at a couple of points.
At a couple of points, but then he didn't. And then I guess going into the tunnel, we had our first incident of the day with Bartoletto.
Yeah. Bartoletto and Antonelli.
That was kind of comical because it was just like, I'm going nowhere to go.
Yeah. It's like, all of a sudden, I think he saw, there is no place to go because, wait, Antonelli's there. I can't go. I can't move into him. Go. Yeah. And so that was all that he could do was run into the wall.
Actually, let me just hit the wall.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, he's out right there. But no, he's actually able to back it up and get going.
You're Bartoletto.
Okay.
You have Antonelli right next to you. Mm-hmm. Do you take Antonelli with you, or do you do a Bartoletto and crash into the wall?
You do Bartoletto because
you think so?
Yeah, because if you take Antonelli with you, in most cases, your race is done. If his race,
his race is done anyway. But could you have
saved? He isn't a Sauber,
could you have? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Could you have saved some of your race by pushing him or
possibly
making some contact? And you're probably right. Somebody would have gotten launched, or the side pod would have been destroyed.
Possibly, yeah. But possibly, if he's really good and you're only rubbing wheels, then you probably could have made it through that turn.
True.
I don't know though, but that would have been pretty interesting if he was.
Bartoletto should have rubbed some wheels.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been things a little bit more exciting if he took 2 people out instead of just himself.
Honestly, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would have made for a more interesting race, but
for sure.
But no, he didn't consult us before that turn.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of a silly move from him, I think. But
yeah, next time they'll call.
Yeah, but Antonelli came out of nowhere though.
He did.
Yeah. And Bartoletto had a good move because he was on the outside, took the line, and then just out of nowhere, it's like, boom, Antonelli, and then I got no place to go, so let me park it.
Yeah, he took the line and didn't protect the inside as much as he should have. So.
Exactly.
But, so he goes out. We get the yellow safety car going. And so then we get some different things happening. Now, the front of the field, nobody pits. The back of the field, like the back 4 or 5, well, there's 4 or 5 cars that actually pit. Sonoda being one of those. So he drops from 12th down to 17th. So we've got, this new thing this year with a 2-stop pit stop rule for the race. So there were people talking about, hey, should some of the teams at the back of the field go ahead and take a pit stop on the first lap?
Yeah.
Well, because of the safety car, some did.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting how some of the things lined up throughout the race.
Yeah.
With it being a low overtake race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think about that strategy? Do you agree with what they did, especially with Sonoda?
I mean, it didn't turn out well for him.
Yeah,
I mean, what was the point in pulling him all the way to the back? Or is your point to sit at the back so you can get in front of the leaders and slow them down? But then there's going to be a blue flag, so that doesn't really work.
Right.
So I didn't really like that strategy with Sonoda.
I didn't like the strategy.
I didn't see what it did to help Verstappen at all. But
did you like the strategy that some of the other teams were playing, where they essentially were sacrificing one driver, slowing basically everybody behind that driver so that that teammate could then have a free pit stop?
Yes. Loved it.
Well,
sort of.
It was, I don't know. And this kind of opens up a broader question about the 2 pit stop rule, but you liked it.
I say that I liked it because I'm thinking back to last year's race when you had a red flag on the very first lap, and then they went the distance. Everybody came in, changed tires, and then they went the distance on the next set of tires. It was boring as could be. There was no chance for anybody.
Right.
So from the perspective of adding more strategy to the race, yes, I think it did that. I did enjoy watching a race that actually had a little bit of strategy to it. At the same time, could it have been better? Yes. I mean, like what we talked about last week, a B-spec car would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But you could also do some different things with the pit stop strategy. One of the things Max Verstappen commented on was that it was kind of like Mario Kart out there, that he didn't like the pit stop rule, that maybe you could throw bananas out on the track and make it a little bit more slick.
Somebody just takes a hose and starts
hosing, Mario Kart
hosing one corner.
Yes, one corner every now and then, letting it dry, have it in the sun. It'd be great. Yeah, do some different tricks like that. But it was interesting to see some of the strategy. Maybe you make it to where, it's a 2 pit stop rule, but one pit stop has to be before a certain lap. The other pit stop has to be or one of those pit stops can't be during a safety. There's different things that you could do with the pit stop strategy to make it different. At the end of the day, it still is you're probably going to feel similar to it as you do to the current 2 pit stop rule.
Yeah.
With that said, the teams are going to exploit the rules as much as they can.
Yeah.
Which I think they should.
And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, it definitely did. And it benefited some of the teams too.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. And then, but at the end of the race, you also had some drivers apologizing. Albon was like, sorry to all the viewers. Because it's true. Nobody wants to see a driver drive slow so that his teammate can then go and then have a free pit stop, and then let's switch spots, and then I'll drive slow and then you take a pit stop.
Yeah.
That's not what we want to see. And I agree with Verstappen. If you're going to have that force a 2 pit stop, it's no different than forcing 3 or 4 or 5 if they're all going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Because that's what you're going to see. You're going to see your drivers, if they can, they're going to help their teammates out.
Right. And I bet, I know he wasn't necessarily couldn't benefit from that because Sonoda was in 17th.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he wouldn't be complaining as well if Sonoda was equal.
Oh yeah.
Right. In his driving with that car.
Yeah. He's upset because he didn't have a teammate there to help him.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's that's one of those weird things there. And it was also interesting too, because you had Williams, Sainz, and Albon holding up Russell and Antonelli. And at some point, Russell, he's had it,
Yeah.
And so on the one, I always forget the name of the chicane, the one that I can't stand.
Right after the tunnel.
Yes, right after the tunnel.
Yeah.
I think they should do away with this chicane. I think it would give one place to at least have a chance for overtaking. But but they haven't listened to me yet. But he like avoids the chicane, goes right around, and
just drives straight through.
He's driving recklessly in front of me. I'm just going to pass with you.
I'm avoiding an accident.
Right, I'm avoiding an accident. Well, the racing stewards beforehand were very clear about that would not be tolerated. So, they should have been clear about not holding up traffic as well. They were clear actually on, hey, it's okay if the drivers did that. So
what they should do is they should put some gravel, make it a little gravel pit or something.
Yeah.
Or grass, or some of that abrasive paint that they do for the French Grand Prix. Right?
Okay.
The other French Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Anyway, that gives us the question: is how do you feel about cheating?
How do I feel about cheating? Well, Daniel, cheating's wrong. Cheating is wrong. You shouldn't cheat. But you should look at all the rules and exploit them to the extent that you legally can.
Right. I mean, that's every every F1 team, isn't it?
I know it is. I mean, some people think that that's cheating. Oh, they did this or that. Well, I mean, you're exploiting the rules to their limit.
Okay.
That's how you win sometimes.
That's right. That is how you win a lot of the times, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the consequence to his cutting the corner?
They gave him, he had a drive-through penalty, so that's basically like a 20-second penalty there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, when the race was going on, I was like, yes, let him go.
I think he got a second one too.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
yeah. I think that's a little harsh, but at the same time, they were warned beforehand to not do it. So it wasn't like it wasn't brought up.
Right. But what's the standard, right? 5-10 seconds tops.
Yeah.
A drive-through, that's
brutal.
Rough.
Yeah, that is pretty brutal. I mean, he had a rough weekend.
He did.
Did bad in qualifying. He had like engine problems in qualifying, so he didn't.
You saw Antonelli ended up doing it as well.
He did, and then he backed off. Yeah.
Yeah.
They started getting word back on that, but yeah, that was something there. But yeah, I think
it needs to be addressed though, right? Like they should. Well, I know it's hard to police a limit on like. What do you call it? Like a speed floor, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe they could do something like that.
They should. I mean, they should have addressed that and said, hey, if you're holding up traffic, you might get penalized.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all that they really had to say.
Like a minimum speed limit.
Yeah, because I mean, it was all addressed in the drivers' meetings. Yeah. So, like,
well, they had an opportunity. It sounds like, but they just didn't address it.
They just didn't address it. Like, so I mean,
I guess it could be exciting, but with the 2 stops, it wasn't exciting. It's exciting when they're doing that, and it's the second to last lap, and they're leading the race, and they're out of tire, no grip, and they're just barely hanging on. But when they're doing that in the middle of the race, just so that their teammate could have a little bit of an advantage, that kind of is like, it defeats the purpose. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, you saw like Verstappen at the very end, like, I don't know how many laps, 10, 20 laps, he was saying, or maybe even more. His tires were gone. But, Norris was right up to the back of him. He wasn't going to try to even pass him because he knew that, Verstappen still had another pit stop he had to take. But I think if Norris was in second place and, like, legitimately Verstappen had already pitted twice, I don't think Norris would have been able to pass him, even on bad tires for Verstappen.
Right.
And, it just drives me nuts on that aspect of it, because it's just kind of like, okay. Yeah.
So any additional changes that could be made?
I think some of the, obviously some of the chicanes you could remove or move back. The other thing, there's a couple of areas you might be able to widen the road, but I mean, still, I don't think you can that much.
I don't think there's not a whole lot of that.
Yeah, so I mean,
not a whole lot of space to widen the roads.
I love the B-spec idea, classic car idea. That'd be so cool, But
right.
I mean, those are kind of the main things.
Yeah.
Like Max Verstappen said, throw some bananas out in some certain spots so it's slick, like you were saying with water, have it on certain laps,
have a forced
certain
wet
times. Yeah, like you
section of
don't
the
know.
road.
You don't know when the sprinkler's going to go on that
You never
section
know,
of the road.
exactly.
Make it to where it has sunshine on it too, so then it kind of dries and it gets wet and dries and wet. So you don't really know how bad and how slick it's going to be when you
That's
get
right.
there. Yeah, that can make for some interesting action, but they're not going to do that.
No, they're not.
And the speed floor minimum thing, yeah, if they're going to have a two-stop,
but then
they
how
should
do you
probably do
police
that.
that though?
Tell them beforehand. Tell them what it is.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to see whenever they're doing it because all of a sudden their times are 30 seconds behind the car in front of them.
Well, you can tell when there's like an area where they might get overtaken, they speed up. But then they hit a corner or a very narrow section and then they slow down.
Yeah.
And Sainz was very good at it, as was everyone else that was doing that. But
yeah,
it's not exciting. It's not exciting to see.
It's not. I mean, I think, Lando Norris, he ends up winning and he was super excited. I think everybody else was excited just because it was done. And McLaren was super excited about it, but I mean, come on, they knew they had it wrapped up. They knew they had it wrapped up in quali. Right. It's more of a formality at this point.
Right. I was more excited about looking at the advertisements. In the tunnel.
Yeah, I know. They had some pretty cool advertisements. Some of them I was like, wait a minute, what's that?
So let's talk about that.
Yes.
The
first ad,
F1 movie.
Yes, the F1 movie, Brad Pitt's F1 movie that's coming out this summer.
We know who doesn't want to see it. Max Verstappen
and Lance Stroll. They didn't show up. All the rest of the drivers showed up.
Lance Stroll had stuff going on.
Yes, and you use the word "stuff" in quotations because that's what he said.
That's exactly. He just stuff.
Yeah, just stuff. I got stuff I got to do because I'm Lance Stroll.
Yeah,
and then you've got Verstappen. He didn't show up either. Prior commitments, so he had those prior commitments going on. Very important for him. Yeah. I don't know what they were.
Yeah.
Some say maybe he was racing on the
on the sim.
Yes, on the sim. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
but a lot of the drivers have said that they really liked the movie, thought it was great, inspirational. Thought it represented F1 pretty well.
Right.
They do Hollywood it up a little bit.
Of course.
But they should.
You would expect it.
It's entertaining. But they said, a lot of them think that it's going to be one of the best racing movies ever.
That's great. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah.
It's going to be good stuff. So.
Is that our third colleague here? Or
yes.
Co-host?
Our third co-host that you're hearing. Her name's Tokyo. She likes to be on camera, but sometimes she's shy.
She's a little shy, so she's hiding.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we have what is it, Mickey and Friends?
Yes. So there was the other sign. It had the the Disney Mickey Mouse symbol.
Yes. So there's going to be a collab in 2026. What do we think that's about?
It's a good question. At first, when I saw that, I was like, "What, Disney?
Yeah.
F1? Okay, sure. Are they going to put F1 on the Disney Channel? Is that where we're going to be able to watch it now, or what?" And I think online, afterward, we looked it up, and it was what they're doing some collaboration. So maybe we're going to see some liveries with Disney on there. Maybe there's going to be some, drivers' parades beforehand with the Mickey Mouse and different Disney characters.
Could be.
I don't know.
Maybe they're going to be the presenters. Maybe you have Mickey talking about the tech. The tech and the upgrades and all that good stuff. And calling the race.
Yeah, I mean, you
do have F1 kids,
yes,
right?
That's what I was going to say. You've got F1 kids, so maybe they're going to be more involved with that.
Yes.
Maybe we're going to see that. Maybe there's just going to be some video games that come out with the Disney characters
and F1 cars.
Some of and F1 cars that you can select.
F1 27. Mm-hmm. EA Sports watch.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, possibly.
You can have Mickey as a driver.
Yeah, it could be one of the special drivers that comes out. Yeah. Yeah, but so
Skins.
2020 yeah, some of the skin, yeah. Yeah, so 2026 that's supposed to hit.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
All right. So, what are your predictions for Barcelona?
Barcelona. So, I think that Red Bull is going to be back on top. I don't think Ferrari is going to be up there again. I think obviously McLaren but they talked about this earlier in the year with some of the upgrades that were coming along. That Red Bull was supposed to introduce some upgrades, and then also I think it had to do with the flexibility of the wings, and but it might impact McLaren at that point. So if it does, maybe there's a chance for Red Bull to come back a little bit. maybe there's a chance for Mercedes, but I would say number one, I'm going to go for Max Verstappen.
Okay, Max.
Lando Norris.
Shocker.
Oscar Piastri.
And Piastri.
Yeah,
Max.
Piastri.
Norris, Piastri.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Max, Norris, Piastri. Those are my predictions.
Okay.
Yeah, hot sports opinions right there.
All right.
I would what I would love to see.
Let me guess. Fernando Alonso.
Oh
no! You were going to say something different.
I was going to say something different.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Isaac Hajar.
Oh,
I would
Isaac
love
Hajar.
to see him.
Yeah, I would love to see.
He did
Isaac
great
Hajar.
today in Monaco.
He did do great
because he ended up with he had a great quali.
Amazing.
Started 6th and ended 6th, but he and Lawson successfully did the
Lawson
the pit
got
stops.
points too.
Lawson got points. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So two of the Racing Bull driver, or both Racing Bull drivers getting points, where RB only one racing driver got points. I think it's a little bit of a trend,
Right.
possibly.
Well,
We'll
we
see.
knew Sonoda would struggle.
Yeah.
But it's not looking good for him.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think
a lot of folks were thinking like, oh, okay, like is it the end because of Imola and he didn't race that well? And now looking at him in what was he like 16th or 17th?
12th and
16th, I think.
some of that's his pit stop strategy.
Yeah,
but,
I know,
but
but
also
still.
like how he qualified. He didn't do well in quali. I mean, and so yeah,
it's hard to see.
So I know a lot of us like we're pulling for Hajar and we like him. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And I think one of our listeners commented something about that that Hajar that they didn't want to see him go to RB because they like him and want to see him succeed. so every second, the driver
That's true.
goes. So
that's true.
But at the same time, like the way he's racing, you look at all the rookies. Like, what are the rookies doing?
Well, Antonelli's doing all right.
Antonelli's had a good year, yeah.
But
you could
outside
argue
of that,
Hajar
is probably the best one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
those two.
Agreed.
So
100%.
And he's consistently above Sonoda and Lawson.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they really should have put him.
Well, he is French, right? Maybe Alpine should look at him for the next drive.
I'll bet you they're wishing.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, Craig, my predictions.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to predict Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc. And I like Leclerc in the podium because he's got a lot of momentum going in, obviously, with the second place in Monaco. And not having done very well, everybody knows Barcelona. Everybody does their, they drive there all the time, right? So I'd like that. And best of the rest, maybe Alonso. The last time he won,
good qualities.
The last time he won, I think it was 2013, was in Barcelona.
He's been doing well in quali. I mean, he did well. He had engine failure today that dropped him out, but
he says he's the most unluckiest driver. So let's not agree with him, but he might do well in Barcelona. So let's hope.
I could see him doing well.
Yeah.
Their car seems like they're doing a little bit better each time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, do you have anything else, Greg?
Yes. I just want to say thank you all for listening and stay passionate out there with whatever you're doing.
Yes. Like, comment,
subscribe,
do all the things on your platforms.
Yes. All those easy things.
And we appreciate you.
Click the little button,
Thanks,
so
Craig.
easy. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Craig.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.